Hey guys, Rowan here, bringing you a slightly different review this time. For those of you who have seen it, I did the Rock Brigade series of Def Leppard a while back, which I hope some of you guys were able to check out. And thank you to some of the guys who gave your feedback in. But this time I've got something very interesting and something very different, which I want to share with all of you. It's called Black Sabbath All in the Family, because here's my dad, who got me into metal, got me into hard rock, and believe it or not, is the guy who introduced me to Black Sabbath, where it all really began. So we wanted to actually just do a small little mini series here, 3 videos. The first one out here being about Black Sabbath's influence. So I wanted to introduce that to all of you guys and actually let him give you his views on Sabbath when it really first began, because, well, he was there. Young, rocking teen, ready to take on the world, and Sabbath was his soundtrack.
Hey guys, it's a privilege to come and talk to you about heavy metal. Um, I go back a long way, and the period that was the end of the 60s and the beginning of the 70s was a tumultuous period in human history. Whether it's music, whether it was the arts, it was politics, it was commerce, everything. The world was undergoing a huge turmoil at that point in time. Nixon had become president and he had decided that he's going to end the Vietnam War. Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali in protest against the Vietnam War. Um, Martin Luther King had just died and Woodstock had just happened. It was at that point in time that I had just entered college and I was trying to explore different types of music. And I was about 17 years old when I was very much into Woodstock and the kind of songs and the music that came out of Woodstock. When a friend of mine introduced me to a band and he said, "You got to listen to this." And that song that I heard the first time completely changed my entire view of music itself, because I realized this was the beginning of something great. And that was Paranoid. Black Sabbath had just released that album. And of course, in those days, it was very difficult to get hold of these kind of records in India, because there was always a time lag between when it was released internationally and when it could be made available in India. And then again, it depended on licensing rights, whether those albums could be available or not. So if you happen to have a good friend of yours who happened to be rich enough, who happened to travel outside and happen to get hold of one of those albums, then be good enough to invite you to his house and let you listen to the music. And that's how I heard Black Sabbath for the first time. Now, it's very interesting what set Black Sabbath apart. If you look at it, it was around the end of the 60s that they were talking about dark matter, they were talking about dark energy, they were talking about antimatter, and along comes this group and touches upon a side of human emotion which had never ever been attempted in the music industry. And that is touching upon the darker side of human emotions. All of us have suppressed angst. We don't know how to articulate it. And Black Sabbath touched upon that. And that's what made them great. Because here, what we realized, or at least I realized at that point in time, was this was not a different band. This was not a different type of music. This was a new genre of music which was starting off. It was amazing. The lyrics, the compositions, the riffs, the entire harmonics was something that mesmerized me, and I wanted to have more of it. And it took a while before I managed to get hold of my first album of Black Sabbath, because anytime I wanted to listen to it, of course it was never played on the radio in India, because Black Sabbath, heavy metal, acid rock, heavy rock, this was all banned items. You couldn't hear it, it was always underground. You happened to be lucky enough to have some place where you could go across and listen to this kind of music, usually at a friend's place. And the first album that I brought was Volume 4. Volume 4 was the first Black Sabbath album that I bought, and I said, wow, it's really great, and I could hardly wait for them to come out with their next album. And bang, 73 they come out with Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. Now, I am in a bit of a dilemma because I still haven't been able to, top up the amount of cash required to buy the first three albums, and here's the next album that will already come out. And I realized it's going to take quite a while before I can drum up enough cash to be able to buy all the previous three albums and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. But fortunately for me, at the end of 1975, he sold us all for rock and roll. It was a compilation of the best of all their albums, including Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, was released in Feb 76, I believe it was in the US, and I managed to get hold of it somewhere in early 1977. So it was a long wait for me to be able to own an album which contained all the great hits of this phenomenal band. And boy, did I leap for joy when I managed to get hold of that particular album. And I still hold that album and I cherish it today. It's really interesting because Black Sabbath was able to gel together as a group. They were more than just a band, okay? They were the flag bearers of a form of music, a way of life, a way of looking at life, a way of expressing yourself and articulating yourself, a way of being able to take the kind of technology that was available at that point in time and let the music leverage the technology that was there. Whether you take Tony Iommi, you take Geezer, you take Ozzy's vocals, you take Bill's drumming, it was spectacular. They spawned a lot of inspiration. They were an inspiration to a lot of bands that came subsequently. So if you were to really look at it, there were a lot of heavy metal bands that came afterwards who were louder, who were faster, who were more energetic and all these things. But Black Sabbath were the guys who were that beacon. They showed the way. And then when you listen to Black Sabbath, when you listen to heavy metal, you listen to that high volume. And at that time, my family was very young. My son was very young, and my daughter was very young. And when I put on something like The Wizard, my daughter would actually start getting scared and start crying. So my wife would come across and tell me, "I think you should tone it down a better so you don't play the record." So sadly, Black Sabbath went off into the background, and we listened to sugary, sweet, syrupy stuff that everybody liked. And I hope that one day I'd be able to once these guys grew up and overcame their fears of the music, that I'd be able to play Black Sabbath again. Cut to 25 years later from the first day I listened to Black Sabbath, and I had this guy coming across, and he had just started showing an interest in music. Not the kind of music that I really approved, but it was music that was vogue at that period in time. And I noticed that I used to travel around a lot, so there were long gaps between when I saw him and then months later I'd see him again. He was away in boarding school. And then comes one day and he tells me, "Dad, I've started liking this kind of music. I'm not sure whether you'd approve of this kind of music." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I like Def Leppard. Def Leppard is brilliant." I said, "Def Leppard is a damn good band. I'm glad you like that kind of music." So it kind of made my heart feel a little lighter, saying that this guy is not going to get wasted on rappers. And then he comes one day and he says, "Dad, I heard there's another group. I don't know if you've ever heard of these guys, but I just heard their numbers and I believe they're awesome. Have you ever heard of a group called Black Sabbath?" And I said, "Yes, metal roots, Black Sabbath. Thank you very much. The legacy lives on. And this is the guy who's going to carry it forward." Am I so happy? But interestingly, he knows more about you guys than I do. I know your songs, I know your lyrics, I know the background because I was at that point in time in history. So I can relate to a lot of the things that you say. Today, he may not be able to relate to it, but he sees you purely from the musical perspective. Whereas I can look at it from the historical perspective as to how those kind of songs and how that music emerged. Which just goes to show you that Black Sabbath's music transcended the current situation. It transcended time. It transcended a generation. And it will continue. It is my fervent belief hoped that one day his son would come to him and tell him, have you heard of this group called Black Sabbath? And you know what? I'm not going to be around. I don't think the guys in Black Sabbath are going to be around. But Black Sabbath will be around. And that's what I wanted to tell you. Thank you very much, Black Sabbath. Thank you for all that you've done for us. Over to you.
Yeah, in fact, the funny thing is there was a documentary on Black Sabbath, guys, which some of you may have seen. So Henry Rollins, we all know Henry Rollins. So he said that it's going to be interesting because Sabbath's going to be a legendary band where, fathers who's from that generation is going to tell his son, I'm sure, and say that, here's son, here's Black Sabbath, here's awesome music, here's a legacy band. They carry on the family legacy for us and keep rocking to this music. And I can say honestly, Henry, is that that's happened over here. But it's a music that we both love. It's a music that we've shared with a lot of people in the family and so on. Lots of people love it. And we're just looking forward to the fact that, this is immortal music. This is music which is going to make a big difference for us. And we're just going to continue with the way we've always done and just see how it inspires so many new generations of musicians and aspiring rock stars. And all I can say is that they really are the masters of reality, so to speak. So thanks for watching. It's been great. And do check out, because we got a couple more videos after this one. And whatever comments you guys have or any thoughts you guys have, please let us know in the comments box below. It'll be interesting to hear your views as well. So until then, keep rocking. And I can say is that keep being paranoid, and let's give it up for the Iron Man of Sabbath then. Take care.
And let it be tomorrow's dream.